Let's watch this.
In 2017, Star Citizen launched its 3.0 patch, which fundamentally changed pretty much everything about how players interacted and participated with the Star Citizen universe. The 3.0 patch has long been regarded as the biggest change to the game from any single patch. However, it seems very likely that Star Citizen's next patch will be even bigger. All right, so on Friday...
The bold lettering and the shit, but this was awesome. By the way, last week when I saw this, I just flipped my lid. When I saw this on Inside Star Citizen during our Inside Star Citizen review show, I was like, holy shit. I flipped my lid. That last episode, so good. So good.
Star Citizen's next patch will be even bigger. All right, so on Friday last week, Star Citizen Live kicked off, where Jared interviewed several developers about upcoming features for Star Citizen's new major patch 3.23, and, well, it's a massive list of features. Like half of the stuff that we saw at CitizenCon level massive. It's actually exceeding my expectations for the first major patch of the year, but then again, they have so much stuff planned for 2024 that maybe this is actually the crazy pace that we need to expect. Now, before
you know, LevelCap's loving these changes because he's a run and gun type dude with his BRs and everything. You know when he saw that, he probably was like, all right, here we go.
We're getting into the planned features for 3.23. Jared reiterated during the live stream that these features are just that. They are plans, and plans can change. So none of this is a guarantee that it's going to be in the next patch, but it's more stuff that they are planning and think that they can get into the next patch, but entirely possible that some of this will get cut. So firstly,
firstly, I'm going to tell you that now in 2023, everybody was telling you nothing's happening. It's a joke and nothing's ever going to get done, blah, blah, blah. CitizenCon comes out end of 2023. Whoops, they were all wrong. Everything we saw there, everything we saw at CitizenCon blew our minds. And now all the content creators in 2024 are going to tell you like, wow, this stuff's like so amazing and it's going to happen tomorrow. Right. So like, let's just ease back on the throttle a little bit. You know, like I was telling everybody to gas up and to push the pedal to the floor last year. Right. This year, I got to be the adult in the room and I got to tell everybody, let's take the foot off the accelerator a little bit because it's not all going to be planned right away. It's not all going to hit right away. It's going to take some time. Right. So put on some Sinatra and go the speed limit for a little bit. And everybody's going to be fine.
Stuff that was shown off during the weekly ISC from the day before is confirmed for 3.23. This includes the very impressive EVA mechanics, and one of the devs added during the live stream that some players were concerned about the limited EVA fuel and getting, say, stranded in space due to running out of
I love that shit. Diva says DG is now the new Salty Mike and Salty Mike is the new DG. It kind of feels like that's what's happening here.
Fuel. And they mentioned that the push-pull mechanics that don't require full fuel to move around in space are actually quite useful, and players will be able to utilize this more than they think and allow you to conserve a lot more of your EVA fuel or just get around in situations even when you don't have fuel at all. Also, the new player interaction system is coming in the 3.23 patch, and it's going to be a massive quality of life feature. In fact, the amount of quality of life improvements in this patch seems monumental. We'll see if the quality of life improvements offset the, well, sure to be massive piles of bugs and server problems that come along with it. I wish I was joking or exaggerating on this one, but anyone who's been a Star Citizen fan knows that the launch of this patch is almost guaranteed to be a dumpster fire of server crashes and new bugs. Now, distribution centers are coming in the 3.23 patch, and I'm very excited about these. Basically huge corporate-owned complexes that will serve as major mission hubs for basic things like shipping or dropping off packages.
By the way, great highlight we had here. I think we were watching a Super Mac Brothers video, so if you missed it, you want to go to DG360, check out the video that's what is it entitled? I think I entitled it "The Trade Centers Are Going to Be Huge," or Trade Centers, probably another clickbait title, very similar to what you're seeing from LevelCap, but very fun time I had talk about how these are going to be very important.
To extreme missions such as raids where you may have to land on pads or in a hangar, disembark into combat, and proceed into the inner bowels of these massive facilities for lengthy FPS missions with friends. They look awesome, and I cannot wait. There's of course going to be a bunch of new missions around these centers, but also more missions throughout the rest of the verse. Now, Master Modes is coming in 3.23, and honestly, I was expecting that this feature would come much later, but hey, I'm glad that they're going to be testing it soon, because this will probably require more testing and tweaking than just about any other new addition in the game. Basically, Master Modes is completely redesigning ship thrust power for combat, for cruising speeds, how guns and turrets will aim, everything is getting gimbals, and pilots will have the option to switch between gimbaled and non-gimbaled fire modes. It might also include the new quantum travel as well, which means shorter range quantum boost mechanics and newer quantum jump mechanics. The devs mentioned that turrets would also be seeing a certain level of gimbaled mechanics on top of them, also just being giant gimbals in themselves to help players with aiming as needed. This is basically a full rebalancing of the entire spaceship flight and combat meta. So it's very exciting, but I'm also not anticipating it to be pushed out the door feeling totally balanced and polished. But as they start to dial this in, it means players can really start to hone their skills and not have to expect the flight models and dynamics to be completely changed or rug pulled from them later in development. Hopefully, anyway. The new FPS dynamic crosshair that changes your central crosshair position based on the proximity of items in your way and things obstructing your line of sight and stuff like that is being added to the game. There's also new FPS scopes that show some cool picture-in-picture scope rendering and some nicer visuals for some of
the visuals from the scopes look fantastic. Some of the new upgrades coming in also very impressive. What I've been seeing coming down the pipe here. But Limitless says distribution centers will be cool as long as they have interesting things happening in those locations. You're absolutely right. We talked about how they're going to function at its base form, and then we kind of theory crafted it out into the future and how they should be very important towards player trading, how it should affect the economy. It's a great video, by the way, Limitless. I believe we talked about distribution centers and the importance of it. I can't remember the title, but it was a really good talk.
The lower magnification optics.
Right.
They'll be adding the combat visor, combat lens, and 3D AR mini-map. Basically an entirely new first-person heads-up display with new notifications as well for health-related things, environmental hazards, and even a compass. The minimap is of course tied into the larger star map, and this is going to be one of the biggest quality of life improvements for the game. And since the CitizenCon demo of the star map that looked a little bit bare bones in terms of its functionality, they've been adding a lot to that, including some quick search functions that will allow players to be able to add waypoints and routes quickly based on what they need to get to. Honestly, I can't wait for this feature alone. It's going to be massive, like make the game accessible to new players, massive, and far less of a chore for veteran players. It's also going to be tied into waypoint functionality where players will...
Dude, and that shit's going to be so polished. It almost looked like an overlay, the way the UI came down. It almost looked like an overlay. It was interesting, though, because I hope that we can get the level of detail that what it showed at CitizenCon, this new map coming up, showed a level of detail that was, like, off the wall. Like, I'm surprised it didn't zoom down into the molecular level. You know, like, it was, like, ridiculous. All the way out. It zoomed out macro to, like, you know, solar system view. Crazy what I saw at CitizenCon, man. Like, absolutely crazy. If this map hits the way I want it to, it's going to be like, what is going on? Like, it'll be revolutionary in gaming. No game ever did it like what I saw at CitizenCon. If they can actually replicate the vibe and the feeling I got from CitizenCon on the map and just go from the very small in your ship all the way out to the universe, scaling it out like that with no hiccups, if they can do that, I don't think a game out there has actually done it right correctly in an MMO. I don't think there's one that's ever done it. If they can do that, that in itself is something that's very understated. You don't hear a lot of content creators talk about that at all.
will be able to create waypoints for things, but I'm not sure if that will be included.
Limitless says it was like the Pupil to Planet video SIG release, and this was years ago. So if you're new to the project, you probably don't know what Limitless is talking about. But there was a video where this dude was standing in a hangar on one of the moons, and basically just it went from his eyeball, like in the eyeball, out, and zoomed all the way out to show you the expanse of everything. And that's kind of what I felt like. You're absolutely right on the money with that, Limitless.
Included with the first iteration of the feature. Now, freight elevators and instance hangars have also been previously alluded to that are coming in this patch. This is a major feature as well, and it'll give players a completely new way of accessing station inventory and also setting up hangars as basically home bases that won't despawn after you log off. It'll have all your gear set up in the way that you want to set it up and stored in the way you want to store it, so you can prep for missions quickly and easily and do things like load ground vehicles ahead of time, invite players into your hangar to load up with some of the gear that you might have that they don't have. Just seems like it's going to be a very cool update to the game. New character generation is also coming in this patch. We got some hairstyles teased in the recent patches, but the character creator update looks very impressive. I hope that we'll be able to save our character looks in ways that either give us a visual code that we can just copy and store, or so that we can re-access our previously saved character designs after, say, a patch or wipe occurs. I definitely like to spend a lot of time tweaking a character build, but I'm less interested in the feature if it's going to get erased every single time that there's a patch. Now,
yeah, and you can't help that. You're not gonna be able to help that yet. I'm sorry. He's right. It sucks that happens, but you can't help that yet. Not at this stage. Not yet. It's getting closer.
The new looting and reloading functionality will also come to the game. Looting has been a placeholder system for a while in Star Citizen, and well, it sure feels like it. Very buggy and dysfunctional most of the time. So this update could be massive. Fingers crossed that it works nicely. There's also going to be new shopping apps for interacting with stores in different ways, and major economy changes. Basically, the economy is getting retuned around a ton of variables, and the devs are looking at things like the ease of missions versus the payouts, item prices in stores versus how hard it is to actually acquire those items in the verse, ship prices, travel times versus payouts for missions. It means that if you have a favorite gameplay loop for making stacks of cash in Star Citizen, chances are that it's going to change. Now, they also mentioned that there's going to be other secret things not yet mentioned, so this patch could be even bigger than they're letting on to right now. According to the pipeline leaks about what's going to be in the 3.23 patch, Tier 0 base building might be here, and if it were on the table and I were CIG, I'd probably want to keep it a secret as well, since it's
Dude, they better be very careful how they introduce this to the fan base. I'm just telling you right now, because people are going to take the game mechanics that currently exist when they lay it down, and they're going to take that as law, because once land gets involved, people get serious business. Once anything land related, or fabs on the land, or bases or headquarters, anything that people congregate to, that they build, that they can put down, once that shit gets put down in the game in any form or format, people will get upset when changes happen. So they better be careful when they actually introduce this element to the game, and they better have mechanics that are going to pretty much be as it is when the game is finished. I'm just saying, if they release this too soon, it could be a very bad move for them. Could be a very bad move if they release this too soon. So I am all on deck to wait for this, because land in itself is going to be so huge, people can't even fathom it. People can't even fathom how big land ownership is going to be in Star Citizen yet. They don't even get it. They don't understand how important it is. It's going to be ridiculous.
Such a huge feature of the game that many players, myself included, were really expecting.
Seamus, you are right on the money. Give him some applause, Pepe. Seamus. I could not agree more with you, Seamus. Seamus says that the quantum economy needs to be online before we even are introduced to this aspect of gameplay. I could not agree with you more, Seamus. Right there with you, bro. Right there with you.
to not see anytime soon. Getting it early in the year would be a major surprise. Now, Jared reiterated yet again that this
I think it would be a major mistake.
stuff is planned for the game and that it will be the first pass on all of these new features, so keep that in mind, both from a functionality aspect and also from the buggy aspects. Many of these features likely won't have the full extent of the quality of life improvements and interactivity that is fully planned with them, and also they're just going to have things that won't work due to bugs and server performance and God knows what else. But as many players have been saying, and I will parrot, if even a fraction of this content makes it into the 3.23 patch, it'll be monumental to the Star Citizen universe its gameplay. And while you could argue that the 3.0 patch was more significant in terms of foundational features added, the amount of quality of life and really important systems being added in this patch could actually change my enjoyment of the game more significantly than some of the bigger patches in the past. So this is a huge patch. It could be almost on the level of like the 4.0 patch in terms of how much it's going to invite me into the game and make playing Star Citizen more of an enjoyable experience. Star Map and Master Modes are top of my list in terms of the features that I'm most looking forward to trying out, but also the persistent hangars and distribution centers are pretty.
The hangars and the distribution centers are enough for now. They don't need to get into like bases yet, because then you're getting into land ownership and that's a whole nother ball of wax. They need to keep it right here. This was great. This is wonderful. Persistent hangars. You got yourself your own little spot where you can store the stuff that you got, and people are going to keep logging back in because they're going to retain some value, right?
Pretty high up there as well. It's hard to pick favorites here since each item is so important in its own right to the overall experience. I'd be curious to know what you guys think about the patch. What are you looking forward to the most, and how realistic do you think it is that we'll see most of these features actually make it to 3.23? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe